The next step is understanding the question and pre-bucketing. And we're actually going to skip the pre-bucketing part, not because it's not an important part of the process, but I think it's too early to start labeling the buckets, and so we're going to ignore that part down there. Now this page is actually really easy. What is the analytical question asked by this mini Q? All you've got to do is copy and paste that from the top of your page, your screen right here. How did the Nile shape ancient Egypt? Right, that should actually be really easy because again, it's just right there at the top. Okay, now what terms in the question need to be defined? Okay, so hopefully we don't need to define how, did, or the, right? That only leaves 4 options. Okay, now we're not going to focus as much on Nile and Egypt, but instead of wanting that, content-specific vocabulary, we want words that can have multiple meanings. Okay, right? Or words that, a 6th grader might not know. Okay, so with this question, right, we're going to start with shape. Okay, and then we'll go with ancient. Now, shape, again, that's going to be a noun, right? Person, place, or thing. Okay. It could also be a verb, right? Not an adjective, not likely, right? The word ancient be an adjective. Now, with shape, right, being a noun or a verb, if shape were a noun, we would have, circles, triangles, squares, and that's not what we're talking about. We're not saying how did the Nile, quadrilateral ancient Egypt. That wouldn't make any sense, right? So in this case, shape is going to actually be a verb, not a noun. Okay, and in this case, it's going to be something along the lines of effect or influence, right? With ancient being an adjective, okay, that just means something from the very distant past. My dad had me at the age of 41, and while, I would love to joke and call him ancient, he doesn't actually fit the definition for the word ancient. Lastly, you are rewriting the question in your own words. So instead of saying, how did the Nile shape ancient Egypt, right, you want to put that in your own words. So for me, I would say something along the lines of, what are some ways the Nile River, this is a good time to specify what the Nile actually is, it's a river, right? What are some ways the Nile River, and then I would say affected or influenced, let's go with influenced, early people living in Egypt. Because the thing is, right, it's not actually shaping or affecting Egypt itself. I mean, that's just a section of land. What's actually happening, right, is it's influencing the early people living there, right? It's providing a place for them to farm. It's providing resources so that they can herd cattle, they can breed animals, they can establish farms and, maintain crops and harvest, right? But it's not actually doing anything to Egypt. And Egypt itself is a civilization. That's what people call it. So other than that, you've just got a bunch of sand and dirt, So this is our understanding the question for this DBQ.